This is the first devlog, which is a full breakdown of everything that's built in this phase. Although this was just a setup phase for everything that's gonna come ahead, this was very necessary because it builds the base for everything that's coming. And it's not like it didn't have any challenges. You'll get to know all of them in this video. This whole game is completely built solo by me, all the systems, all the code. So let's get into it. The first systems I built were movement and interaction, and honestly, they went pretty much as planned. Clean character control, smooth animation blending, nothing worth complaining about. Interaction followed immediately after, a unified system that lets player interact with the world around them. I had to build it modular because a lot of the systems that are going to come in the future are going to be built on top of this. You'll see an example in this video ahead. Next is what I'd call a human ghost pipeline. So in this game, one of the main mechanics and concepts is that the main character has toxins around him. And these toxins are unbearable for humans. And because of that, every time you come close to a human, they die. So because of that, you can only interact with ghosts that have been killed by these toxins. Initially, this game had something called totems. It was a solid concept on paper, but in practice, it was too complicated and it didn't exactly make sense. It felt like it was stuffed in unnecessarily. So I scrapped that entirely and rebuilt it from a lower perspective, and that's where the Wraith was born. Wraiths are humans whose bodies have been taken over by a weaker, less evolved strain of nanites. Ones that couldn't survive without a host, and they didn't evolve enough to form clusters like other monsters in this game. They're not monsters, they're victims of a hierarchy they didn't choose. And that distinction actually changes how you interact with them. You have two options when you encounter a Wraith. Every time you kill a nanite monster, you absorb their nanites. That's how you're ridding this world of the toxins. So Wraiths, you can either kill them and absorb their nanites, or you can hunt down an eminent, which is basically a boss you get from completing a side quest. And when you kill an eminent, you get these controllers. And these controllers work on hierarchy. Whenever you activate a controller, any nanite around that is of lower evolution will die immediately. They will get deactivated and you can absorb those nanites. What is left is just the human, alive and well. But there comes another question. If you're too close, the human will die too. And you may or may not get a ghost, because these ghosts are the actual NPCs of the game that give you your quests. That's the real choice that the player has to make. It came entirely from scrapping the totem system and asking what the world actually needed. Now let's move on to combat. Combat was where phase 1 got serious. The first question I had to answer was how to build the enemy AI. I first looked online and I came across the finite state machines. The standard approach, well documented, plenty of tutorials. But during that research, I came across something called behavior trees. Now, behavior trees are easy to implement in Unreal as compared to Unity, because in Unity, there's no set system to build behavior trees, whereas in Unreal, there is. So, to actually work on behavior trees, I first had to learn how behavior trees worked fundamentally, and then a Unity library built specifically for this. I found it on GitHub. The link will be in the description. Learning the library was one thing, designing the actual trees was another. Getting every condition, every priority correct for each enemy type, that was genuinely difficult. The Wraith and Aggregate behave differently, think differently, engage differently. Wraiths are more similar to your normal zombies, whereas an Aggregate is like a wolf. So mapping all of that out before a single line of code and then translating it faithfully into NPBehave, that took longer than I want to admit. But both enemies are fully functional with complete AI behavior, detection, engagement, combat. Hell, Aggregates even have a mechanic where they can call for backup if their health is too low. That's not a placeholder, that has been shipped. With the AI done, but I was way behind schedule, I made a call and I pushed the creation of the two types of bosses, the optional and canonical bosses, the eminence, and the singularity into phase 3. So we'll see more of that later. After completing the combat, I moved on to the inventory system. This was pretty straightforward. I had built the interaction system in the beginning, and the inventory system was just one scriptable object for the item data, a script for the player inventory, keeping track of everything. And that was pretty much it. Building on a solid foundation instead of fighting it, that's the value of getting architecture right early. And then the combo system, which is where I hit the first wall in this game. When I actually started working on the combo system, I realized that the combat that I had initially put in the game did not work properly and it was fundamentally broken. The whole thing was built on proximity checks. You could only attack if you were close enough to the enemy, which sounds logical until you actually play it, and it feels completely wrong. Combat shouldn't care whether an enemy is in range before you swing. The swing should create the range. So I scrapped it, rebuilt it from scratch using colliders on the player fists, letting the animations drive the hit detection entirely. 3-hit combo, fully chainable, each hit defined by its own attack data as a scriptable object separately. It's clean, it's extensible, and it'll help a lot when I finally come to the ability system in phase 2. The animations are still janky right now, I'll be honest about that. That's still placeholder. I outsourced the main character model from another creator. But that's about to change significantly. I'm bringing phase 2 is where the world actually starts to take shape. In phase 2, we have a save system, a dialogue system, an ability system. So all of that together is going to change a lot, and then we'll move on to sandboxing in phase 3 along with complete combat. The Steam page launches on Halloween, wishlists open then. If you're following this from the beginning, thank you. There's a lot more coming.